Africa is one of the wealthiest continents in the world in terms of natural resources. However, many African countries are poor, and the majority of its citizens live beyond the average poverty line. Due to many years of natural disasters, political instability, bad leadership, and embezzlement of public funds, many African countries have been plagued by poor economic standards. Many Africans are poor and helpless. With a total income of less than $1 a day, they live in abject poverty and have no way of getting the basic things of life such as nutritious food, good clothes, quality health care, and decent accommodation. That's why today, W compiled a list of the top 10 poorest countries in Africa by GDP per capita. But before we start, give this video a like, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell, so you don't miss out on future educative and informative videos regarding the interesting continent of Africa. With that out of the way, let's begin. 10. Sierra Leone, GDP per capita, $1,608. In Sierra Leone, agriculture contributes substantially to employment, but the country is yet to achieve any reasonable growth due to inadequate industrial support from the government. Meanwhile, the Sierra Leonean economy continually declines due to excessive reliance on mineral exploitation. Besides the mining industry, Sierra Leone has not achieved any reasonable development in other industries. The reason being that the government believes that the country's gold and diamonds are enough to sustain the country and convince foreign businesses to invest in the country. Unfortunately, this has not happened, and the country remains poor, with an average GDP per capita of $1,608. 9. South Sudan, GDP per capita, $1,420. South Sudan is a country located in Central Africa. The country is neighbored by Ethiopia, Sudan, the Central African Republic, Congo, Uganda, and Kenya. With a population of about 12.7 million, South Sudan is the youngest country in the world. It only gained its independence just recently in 2011. Despite political and social unrest, and widespread poverty, there is hope for the future, as the country is rich in terms of natural resources. South Sudan has abundant oil and gas, iron, chromium, tungsten, and copper, among other mineral resources. 8. Liberia, GDP per capita, $1,413. Liberia, a country located in West Africa, is one of the poorest African countries. The country was established as a colony for former American slaves. The country shares borders with Sierra Leone, Guinea, and the Ivory Coast. Liberia relies heavily on agriculture as well as mineral resources. In order to expand its GDP level, the country depends heavily on the exportation of minerals like rubber and iron ore. Previously, Liberia had a sustainable economic standards, but as a result of the civil war, the country has been ravaged by several disasters including crippled infrastructure, misunderstandings, political unrest, and the absence of capital resources. In order to revive the economy, the government of Liberia is gearing efforts towards using modernized technology and improving the agricultural sector. Liberia is blessed with fertile land and abundant mineral resources. Nevertheless, the country is still one of the poorest countries in Africa, with less than 15% of its population beneficially employed. 7. Mozambique, GDP per capita, $1,331. Mozambique is a country located in East Africa. The country is located right on the eastern coast of Africa, with a long coastline facing the Indian Ocean. The country has a population of 30 million, and is blessed with abundant arable land. Therefore, the country depends heavily on subsistence farming. Economic growth in Mozambique has been plagued by setbacks resulting from two major factors, which are the overdependence on foreign aid, and a high level of inflation, leading to a GDP per capita of just $1,331. There is need to synchronize the work of farmers so as to stabilize prices, and processed food can be exported for higher prices. Mozambique also has extensive mineral deposits and must start to exploit them in order to develop the economic condition of the country. 6. Malawi, GDP per capita, $1,234. Malawi is a country in East Africa. The country is landlocked, neighboring Zambia, Tanzania, and Mozambique. The country is quite small, and has a population of about 19 million people. Malawi remains one of the least developed countries in Africa, and there is very little infrastructure or industry in the country. Most of the people practice subsistence farming, and they mostly live in rural areas. There is quite a tourism industry in the country, and this has given rise to the production of arts and crafts. Presently, most people earn below poverty wages in the country. Farmers are starting to meet together to help improve their lives, but there is still a long way to go before the country can start to feel the impact of these moves. For a long time, the country has relied on aid distribution from the IMF and other international bodies. But there are serious concerns about corruption, and the funds have not been used for any meaningful development. 5. Niger, GDP per capita, $1,213. Niger is a West African country with substantial mineral endowments and an active agricultural sector. However, most of its land is not arable, and therefore, not suitable for farming. The economy of Niger is further strengthened by foreign exports and a substantial volume of domestic production. Niger fails to achieve standardized economic growth because most of its exports go to other less developed African countries. With a view to stabilizing the economy, the Nigerian government has implemented flexible privatization policies. The newly stable country has been working hard to create strategic relations with its neighbors, especially Nigeria. Nevertheless, there is still a problem of deep-rooted poverty. In fact, food security seems like a dream that may take several years to become reality. 4. Somalia, GDP per capita, $888. Somalia is a country in the Horn of Africa. It has a population of about 16 million. The country is exposed to the sea from the north and east. And so, there is much potential in the area of trade. Somalia's crippled economy is a direct result of the unrest that has been ravaging the country since 1986. With an underdeveloped economy subject to military control, Somalia remains one of the most impoverished countries in Africa, and the majority of its resources has been mishandled by the Somalian armies. Economically, Somalia depends on telecommunications, foreign remittances, and livestock. However, these are still not enough to improve the country's economic condition. 3. DR Congo, GDP per capita, $843. The Democratic Republic of the Congo is a country in Central Africa. With a population of 92 million people, DR Congo is one of the biggest countries in the world. DR Congo generates the lion's share of its revenue from its most vibrant sectors, which include forestry, agriculture, and hunting. Besides, it maintains a significant oil sector that yields petroleum for exportation and domestic needs. The DRC has mineral deposits including uranium, lithium, gold, and many more. However, there is little development on the ground to help the people. The country has made little economic progress over the years, and ordinary people are forced to do odd jobs with no employment rights. There is also very little social development. The people have little civil rights, and they are unable to demand social change from the government. 2. The Central African Republic, GDP per capita, $823. The Central African Republic is a country in Central Africa, which is also a sub-Saharan African country. The country is landlocked, with a population of 4.6 million, most of whom live below the average poverty line. The Central African Republic has suffered years of political instability, culminating into civil war. For much of the last 40 years, the Central African Republic has been a theater of coups, protests, political wars, and religious conflicts. In fact, the Central African Republic has been the site of one of the bloodiest cases of ethnic cleansing the world has seen in the last 2 years. Even now, there is very little social control, as much of the country is lawless. In a situation like that, it's no surprise that the country is poor. There is simply no infrastructures for power development, despite the abundance of mineral resources like uranium, gold, and diamonds. Burundi, GDP per capita, $727. Burundi is a country in Eastern Africa. With a population of 12 million, Burundi is one of the poorest countries in the world. In fact, more than half of its population lives on less than $1 per day. Burundi has suffered serious developmental setbacks over the years. It has had a number of coups, ethnic cleansing, genocides, and civil wars. Such an environment is unsuitable for economic growth, and the country has not been able to build the necessary infrastructure that will power a good economy. Going by the country's record of socio-political instability, it is also deemed a high-risk area, thus unattractive to foreign direct investments which could stimulate the economy by providing jobs. The economy of Burundi is majorly dependent on agriculture, which contributes 54% of the country's GDP. With the view to overcoming future financial issues, Burundi concentrates on self-sufficiency. But in addition to this, the government is seeking other nations for assistance. So, there you have it, explorers. The top 10 poorest countries in Africa 2023. Don't forget to give this video a like. And make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our future uploads regarding the interesting continent of Africa. Thanks for watching this one. Catch you all in the next.